What's up, guys? I recently started making this chain vise for off the saw hand filing. Pretty simple. Clamp it down.
If you sharpen your own chain, this video's for you. I have two new tools to show you, and I'm really excited about one of them. The jury's still out on the second, but first let me show you what I've got. A young man reached out to me and said he produces these vises and said he would like to send me one to see if I liked it and if I did to promote it. Well, I've been spending some time with it, and I think that this is going to be the best way to sharpen chain and maintain your rakers. I mentioned that this is applicable to everyone that runs a saw. If you grind chain, this tool will be useful to you. If you file, if you use a 2-in-1, if you use a rotary tool or anything, it's applicable. We've all done it. We've been out cutting firewood or doing a job and we hit metal or dirt and the chain gets dull. Some people file that chain up on the spot and get going again. Others like to swap the chain, and I've done both. I've tried the method of basically putting a chain on a saw and filing from new all the way to worn out, and that works, except for when you're in a hurry. Sometimes if you have limited time, it's good to be able to pull that chain off and throw a sharp one on. I am a huge proponent of filing, but that causes an issue. When you remove a chain and you place another one on, you now have a dull chain, and you can't file a chain easily without it being mounted to a saw. If you stack up your chains, that's a nightmare if the only way you can sharpen them is with a file. This tool eliminates that problem. You don't have to mount a chain on a saw, put it in a vise, and file each chain. That's a nuisance. This chain vise holds it securely and allows you to go ahead and file and set your rakers off of the saw. That's a big one, because once I got my grinder, I started just swapping chains out in the field, but the problem is the grinder, I don't set my rakers on there. Then what I have is a whole bunch of sharp chains that need the raker set. How do you set rakers? You have to put it on a saw, file the raker, and then you're okay to move on. To me, that's a nightmare, because then I've got chains that are ready to go and I've got chains with high rakers. I like to use raker gauges to keep my cutters consistently cutting throughout the chain, and so this tool solves that problem. And the biggest problem that this tool solves is holding the chain securely. I really like the design of this vise. It's made of heavy-duty steel. It clamps up beautifully on even the smaller vise. It would work great on a larger vise, but this vise holds it sufficiently well. Now, I want to talk about my experience using this tool. These are metal latches, and we've got good thick steel here, and then we have two plates that simulate a bar. There is adjustability in this, but mine came preset to pretty much tackle anything I need. This is actually 063 steel chain right here. And then I've even put 050 on here, and it clamps it sufficiently well. On this 3/8 chain, sometimes I have good luck filing these three cutters. Let's see if it works on this circumstance here. So you can see this is very solid. I can shake my whole bench by grabbing this tooth. Now on this end one, sometimes what happens, see that right there? It doesn't quite have the clamping force to hold this one every single time. I've had it work, but it tends to be a little spotty. I've tried repositioning it back like this. I found that if you position the chain slightly biased this way, I have better luck holding these three cutters perfectly secure. But what I almost prefer doing is putting the two cutters right here in the middle, and then I know that these are good and I'm not trying to hit it just right. What I love about this file vise is the ability to really get your file in there, and you can hog out your gullet. You can go ahead and focus on getting your angles perfect, and it's just really nice. So I'm hogging that out right there, and then now I'm just going to go ahead and focus on the top plate, guys. Show you how just easy this is to swap through here. Really nice. This is a velour file. I like it so far. Now, another tip here, guys, when you're filing, don't just feel the cutter, use your nail to see if it's sharp. A slightly dull tooth can potentially feel good on your skin, but when you put your nail up against it, you'll find that your nail skates right across it. That's not as sharp as it can be. Another thing I really like about this is if you're like me and you struggle a little bit with the right side cutters because you're filing with your left hand, this thing can absolutely help. Now, it takes me a moment to get into my rhythm filing this way. I've tried all sorts of different things, and this vise made it possible because I was able to go ahead and rotate the chain around, but I think the best way is just to get used to filing it this way for me. And like I said, it's a little bit rough here at first because it's, I don't know, man, I've tried. It's just my left hand is about useless here. As you can see, the vise holds the tooth really well. Now we're going to transition into the next tool that I purchased. You can be assured that I'm going to use this precision filing vise from here on out when I'm doing work in the shed. If I had a vise on a truck or trailer and I needed to sharpen in the field, I would also like to use it there as well. There are links down in the description, and the price includes free shipping in the United States. As of right now in 2025, the precision filing vise is $150, including shipping. I'll show you a video where Nolan guarantees his product.
What's up, guys? I recently started making this chain vise for off the saw hand filing. Pretty simple. Clamp it down. Thing don't budge. Don't move on you when you're filing. It'll do 20 inches and up. It can go down to 16 depending on your bench vise. 150 bucks, free shipping in the USA. If you don't like it, send it back. I'll give you your money back. Appreciate it.
I think that's pretty cool, guys. I know there's going to be some people that say that's too much or I made one this way. Guys, listen, if you spent 5 to 10 to 20 hours tinkering on it, getting it just right for your application, that's really great. I don't have a way to efficiently and accurately produce a tool like that, and I bet many of you are in the same boat. If you run a chainsaw enough, I think you'll find value in this tool. If you do it a little bit here and there, you might just be better with a stump vise. With all the saws I have and the dirty wood I get into, I am definitely going to appreciate this being here. Now we're going to transition into the next tool that I purchased, thinking that it was going to be a game changer. In some ways that's the case, in some ways it isn't. In fact, it's the only tool that I found that isn't going to work with this precision filing vise, and I'll show you why. This is how I was setting rakers and filing chains in the past. I mounted this little vise to this board and it works, but it's just not as nice for filing and it doesn't hold it as securely. Tell me if you have experience with these. I think that this promises to be one of the best guide systems that I've ever used. I've tried the Oregon ones. The steel 2-in-1s I think have their place. I liked it a lot on my 404 chain. I'm not super excited about it on 3/8 chain. It does work, but I find that the rakers are a little too grabby for my liking. Now, this is really cool, and I'll show you why. There are a few drawbacks to this, and I'll discuss a little bit of that now. You have to have a different kit for different chains. This is 325, and this is for 3/8. Now, further, they even specify the chain. I'm not using it on any of those chains and I'm having success, but there may be an issue with it and I'll show you right now. Now, before you poo-poo this device right here, what's really cool about it is this. Believe it or not, the main thing I wanted it for was the files and the raker gauge, and I thought that if this worked well, that would be a good thing. I did run into an issue. I'm running non-Husqvarna 050 chain, and I wasn't able to get this to seat properly on the chain. I actually had to take the flat file and hit these inside edges just ever so slightly. I did it equally on both sides, so that way this would sit exactly like it's supposed to on the chain. This end right here sits on the tie strap and this one right here sits on the back tie strap. What's neat about this is this keeps your gullet consistent throughout your entire chain. I know that you can get excellent results hand filing, but that takes time, and even when you are an expert at it, there is going to be some variation, and I think that this promises to eliminate that variation mostly. I'll give you a quick demo. I was using this the other evening, and I put this mark here. I don't remember if it's because I filed that tooth or that's where I need to start. Let's go ahead and try the file that comes in the kit, and these are actually the intensive cut Husqvarna files. I've always wanted to use them. I can't find them real easily here locally, but this kit did include them. The price for this kit is fantastic. I've seen people not really like these file holders, but I want to give it a shot. So far, I like the concept. You kind of just push on this and slide the file in. That should make it really nice for putting a flat file in here, which it does include. All right, that's pretty cool. The handle does feel a little bit odd at first, but I want to show you how this works. What's nice is you have support. It's just going to help not rocking back and forth so bad, and you can really focus on your angle. Okay, this is the first time I've used these files here. See that? It's just super easy. And I gotta be honest with you, I get some very sharp teeth in terms of putting my nail on there. Incredible. Let's try another tooth here. Now this chain was sharpened on my grinder and it was set to 25, but right now I'm matching the line on the back of the tooth. Oh man. Yeah, I get really, really good results. I want to show you the profile that this leaves on there. I think that the gullet is shaped extremely beautifully with this tool right here. I don't think you can go wrong with that result. It's a little bit weird at first getting it orientated correctly, but once you know how it sits, it's super easy to use. Now we're going to go back to that precision filing vise because I really like this, but it doesn't work with that setup. It's the only scenario I can imagine and what I found that will not work with that vise. But I did mention that the reason why I purchased these was not necessarily for the file guide setup. It was because the flat file, the handle, the round files, and the raker gauge are an incredibly good value even if you don't consider this. The other reason I wanted this setup versus a standard raker gauge setup from Husqvarna or West Coast Saws or Oregon is because this is really easy to hold on to. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I've mentioned that I really like these Husqvarna raker gauges in the past, but I don't really like holding on to them, especially when you've got a lot of raker filing to do. And I thought that holding on to this assembly right here would be more comfortable, and so far that's proven to be the case. I really like this setup, but I did find that on the precision filing vise you can't use it because this is set to basically straddle the tooth and the bar. The precision filing vise is very rigid, and because of that it has thicker steel here and it doesn't allow this to mount across. That's no big deal because I can use the raker gauge and hold on to it very well with this essentially built-in grip. In the past I've always used these. These are already set. Yep. And when you have a sharp file, you're not really having to put a lot of effort into holding this. But I think that I am going to just enjoy having this extra grip here. And I'm telling you, for the price of the whole kit, you cannot beat it. But this chain is an example. I sharpened this chain on my grinder, but my raker still needed to be set. That just reinforces how cool the precision filing vise is. I'm going to be testing out this Husqvarna setup for quite a while. I like almost everything about it. I didn't like that I wasn't able to fit the aluminum guide over my bars and chains. I'm using all 050 on everything. I don't know if I had a Husky chain on there, if it would have done better. I don't really have very many Husky 3/8 chains around. In fact, there might be one in that box somewhere, but those are not the chains that I plan on stocking up with in the future. I use a lot of Oregon, Dukes, and I'm going to be testing some more steel RS. I might be having a change of heart about steel chains. More on that later. I'm super excited about this precision filing vise, and I am going to be making use of it. The chain that I was working on right here is an exact example of the problem with grinding off of the saw and then setting chains aside. Those rakers are not set. Now that I have that precision filing vise, I can pull a chain off of the grinder, set it in the vise, set my rakers, and now I truly have a chain ready to go for use in any situation. Thanks for watching the Okie Woodsman channel. I will see you on the next one.